Well, I left Vogue rather abruptly last year. I was exited from Vogue and I was offered a book deal the very next day to talk about my experiences at 25 years at the magazine. And throughout all my time at Vogue, I'd often said to my colleagues, we'd laugh together and said, one day, you know, I need to write a book about this and the amazing things that happened. So it seemed like the perfect opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear when I talk about the modelling phenomenon of eating disorders that it's not every model, but there are certainly parts of the industry that you will see that girls have got eating disorders, particularly when they may be a good size modelling, say in Australia, and then they want to hit the Paris catwalks. And then they're normally required to lose a great deal of weight to actually get into those sample sizes that you'll see on those international runways. And that's where you start to see trouble happening. So it's because it's the way some of the models go about it. Some of them will do it in a healthy way to lose that weight or naturally that size, but there is certainly a percentage of them that will do dangerous regimes to get to that point. Well, I was never privy to how much they weighed, and I mean, everything's side on, you know, it's all done as when you look at a girl, and you have to make an evaluation as an editor as to whether she looks unhealthy or skeletal or how she's going to appear in the magazine, how the reader will respond to that. But essentially the girls on the catwalks tend to be a lot thinner than the girls that you're using in the magazines. But I think it's essentially, it's from the casting for the shows, and whether that's casting directors, designers, stylists, editors, there's a pretty small pool of very influential people that dominate the fashion arena worldwide. And they're the ones that are making the decisions as to which girls get cast, which girls are going to appear in the campaigns, and it stems from there, what you'll see. Well, see, that's the insidious part of eating disorders, because you can't tell that. And unless you're monitoring somebody 24/7, travelling with them and looking at every calorie or kilojoule that they consume, you can't tell that. You can only tell as an editor, someone who's going to hire somebody to appear, you know, in a magazine, whether that she actually looks sick or you know, the skin pallor and hair and all that sort of stuff. But you know, it's not as numerical as trying to work out BMI or anything like that. I think that you actually have to be close to the person to know how she's eating. So you can't see it. You can't see it. What's happening is it's invisible. It's going on behind the scenes. Well, basically, I do remember one season that the girls were required to be very thin, and I was having dinner with a New York agent who said to me that a few of the girls had resorted to eating tissues. I'd never heard of such a thing, and said, "Oh, what did that do?" And apparently they swelled in your stomach and made you feel full. And I definitely heard that some girls were unwell and starving themselves and were on drips. You know, over time, I did hear that. I remember speaking to a model, and her flatmate was a fit model for a top designer, and she was in and out of hospital because of, I guess, basically because she was starving herself. So these were the kind of things that I heard about. Oh, no, I mean, I was never approached by a model to say that they, you know, that they were suffering an eating disorder. I mean, that's something that would have presumably been addressed in the agency if the agency knew something like that. I mean, essentially, when you booked the girls, that you expected that you were getting somebody who was healthy and in shape, and had achieved that in a realistic way. But it wasn't something that's not something that magazines would interact with the models about, not at all. I think that's left with the agencies and presumably with their families. I did consider myself part of the problem, to tell you the truth. I felt that everybody was complicit in it. As I said, it wasn't every single model, but there was certainly an area of it that wasn't being talked about, where the girls were underweight. The whole fashion industry is. I mean, as a editor, as a woman, as a mother, I would make my judgment calls as the models passed me, past my desk or past the art department, as to whether I felt that they were too thin or what we were portraying was too thin. And you had to make that call every single day. But yes, the industry is complicit in some of these areas, definitely. It was probably something that I tried to address as an editor in my own way. Being the editor of Australian Vogue, I'm a small part of a very big fashion industry, and there's a lot of influence obviously overseas. I tried to influence in my corner, which was to make that judgment call every time I ran a picture of somebody, or we looked at something that had come, a photo that had come from the Paris catwalks, and photoshopped the girls to look larger to get rid of bones. That actually happened. Most people accuse editors of photoshopping images for the girls to look slimmer. On occasions we had to do it the other way around. So I felt that I made a call how I saw fit every month. Well, I mean, the book is larger than just skinny models as well. I mean, that's one part of the area that one area of the industry that I'm talking about and telling some truths about. I think that my book has a lot of truths about what happens in publishing, fashion publishing and high fashion. And it's not an expose, tell-all, bitter sort of book. It's really an honest account of what goes on, and I want people to take away the fact that it's sort of a slice of kind of publishing knowledge.